It's the only way to be sure.
Until the rest world in a month from now, this Hollywood picture is gonna give you what you want. I'm gonna make him an offer.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Inside Your Screen. I'm here with Brendan Horgan. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, Tony. How are you?
I'm not too bad. A trailer dropped recently for a new game, Aliens Fireteam. This kind of came out of nowhere, really. Cold Iron Studios were the team developing this, but they've been developing this for 6 years, and 4 acquisitions later, they've unveiled this kind of third-person squad-based survival shooter. Should we look at the trailer first, Brendan, and then we can comment on it and see what our thoughts are? How do you think?
Yeah, that sounds good. Tell me when you want me to hit play.
We'll hit play now. So first things first, we see like a group of Marines in this Katanga refinery, which is part of the lore of some of the Alien comics that Dark Horse Comics released with their Colonial Marines cycle. You've got the kind of motion sensors pulsating as you do, and then, the aliens are kicking off. There seem to be quite a lot of enemies on screen here. Like, they seem to be overrunning with enemies here. Which is quite interesting. But although all this is going on, you do see the alpha gameplay footage, because I'm not sure if you're aware, Brendan, of the catastrophe that was Aliens Colonial Marines. They basically did an E3 demo years ago, and the game looked fantastic, but the final product turned out to be a bit of a turkey.
Okay.
And then you've got the kind of different types of weaponry that the Marines are using. You've got your smart guns, you've got your pulse rifles, you've got your flamethrowers. And then you've got the tagline, which is "Survive the Hive," which I think is quite apt to be an Aliens game. And then you've got the Alien Queen, and then Aliens Fireteam. Yeah, so summer 2021. Brendan, what are your initial thoughts on this?
Came out of nowhere. Didn't know about it until you told me about half an hour ago about it, and I actually liked that trailer. I thought it looked really cool. I liked the aliens, looked really cool. Some of the gameplay footage looked good. The graphics looked pretty damn good. I'm not a big fan of these co-op games. So when I watched that trailer, I was kind of like, I'm intrigued to see what exactly gameplay options you have, but I was disappointed the minute it kind of was like co-op as a team.
Well, that's the thing. It's online only as well,
and it's online only, so there's my next thing was going to be looking at the trailer. I'd love to play a story mode of this game, but I think just not into these co-op team-based games. It's just a personal thing.
Yeah, so it's not an MMO. It's not like fully online. There's RPG elements in the form of character classes, upgradable skill trees. But there's no loot boxes or microtransactions apparently.
That's good.
And it's been built as a living game. So what will basically happen is if you want to solo it, you can. You'll just have like bots as companions.
Oh, really?
And, yeah, so you will be able to play it, but you mentioned about like a storyline. Now, this is the kind of thing where, see, I was always a fan of Left 4 Dead. Like, I love Left 4 Dead. I could play Left 4 Dead 1 and 2 on repeat. Like, I love the kind of whole fact that there was a kind of thinly sort of strapped storyline. The characters would go from scenario A to B to C to D, and you didn't have to play them in chronological order. You could take a particular mission and you can go through that. I'm hoping that this will be like that there will be a kind of overarching storyline, but you won't have to just basically play it from the beginning to the end. You can play the different scenarios as they kind of come out. There's a lot of people that are obviously sitting on the fence with this, because you have the aspect of, having the kind of third person over the shoulder fight or flight shooter sim. What I want to see is because there's different classes that you can use in this. You can be a demolition sort of person class. You can be a doctor. You can be a fire team. You can be a suppressor, all that kind of stuff. I kind of want to see that kind of work in unison. I want to see how these mechanics kind of work, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, I'm watching the trailer back now as we speak, and it's a very action-packed trailer.
Yeah.
So they like, just as you were describing that, the doctor, like I was just watching the trailer, it was like, well, it still just looks like it's going to be a bit of a just shoot the alien in front of you as many times as you can with your machine gun as possible type thing. I do like the scenes where it looks like there's a large number of aliens and it looks like you're going to be kind of overwhelmed, which has become a bit of a kind of quite common in a lot of like, especially zombie games now. The hordes, you often have scenes with just, but I with aliens I kind of like it, and the gameplay looks really fun. As I said, it's just yeah. It's, do you have any idea what type of, if because obviously with it being an online game only, are we talking £25, or are we talking, is this going to be a full kind of priced £50-60 game, or £70 now when you look at the kind of the next gen PS5 and Xbox X? But do you have any idea if this is going
well, let's check on Steam while you're saying that. I would imagine something like this, it shouldn't be
I mean, unless it rings very similar to the type of game. I'll be completely honest, this looks a lot better than Predator. What was the game that we played during the summer? Predator
Hunting
Grounds. This actually looks a lot nicer visually anyway.
There's no price. There's no price as of yet. But basically, I would say, because there are 5 playable classes: Gunner, Demolisher, Technician, Doc, and Recon, each with unique abilities and perks and individual skill trees to upgrade. Players run these characters through 12 campaign missions and then replay these levels with altered loadouts, squad mates, difficulty levels, and challenge cards.
So 12 levels. So it's definitely a bigger
levels.
It's definitely a bigger game than Predator Hunting Ground anyway.
Yeah. So what Predator was like? What was it? £15 or £20?
No, that released as a full price game initially.
Oh, it got released. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so I think it was 50-60 quid when it released. Yeah, obviously, you could go with all the kind of Ultimate Edition, special editions, and all that kind of malarkey. You could go up to 100 quid with these type of games. But yeah, I think Predator Hunting Ground was like a standard price 50 quid game when it came out.
Yeah, see the difference between, if we're kind of comparing this to, if we're comparing this to Predator Hunting Grounds, the difference, as I said before, of like Left 4 Dead, is the characters that were involved in that had their own unique sort of characteristics. Like they'd have like lines of dialogue that would work with each other, and if you were playing a separate character, I would love to see that, the kind of immortalization of the sort of James Cameron's Aliens characters, because like when you think of the movie, you think of Hicks, you think of Hudson, you think of Apone, you think of like all the Marines, Vasquez, Drake, you think of all these kind of characters. They all had their unique sort of characters. What I don't want coming from this is just having random characters that have no personality whatsoever, just like Predator Hunting Grounds.
I get the feeling that's the type of game it is. I
think it's going to be, yeah.
Because I don't think, with it being a co-op, you can't really add dialogue to your characters, can you?
Well, you could have certain, like, I imagine this is the type of game that when you're running around, there'll be like triggered sequences where, like, a horde come after you, and you could have someone go, you could have like that character that's like Hudson, like going, they're coming out the goddamn walls. You could have.
I would assume maybe not, purely based on the fact that the way you've described it, it almost seems that this is very much going to be that team game where the missions are going to be focused, like, as you said, the Doctor. So in every mission, I think each of these characteristics is going. Here's actually a question. Am I right in assuming that then in every game, you in essence pick one of these 4 character types? And does it mean that so really, let's be blunt, what were the characteristics you said there again?
So you got 5 of them. You got Gunner, which I imagine is going to be like
as
your
an example,
tank. Yeah.
Can you play a mission with 5 gunners? Or is it going to be every single mission there will be 1 gunner, 1 doctor, 1, and in that sense will each mission have a thing that only that character can do?
I would imagine that would be the case, yeah. You wouldn't be able to kind of pick like 5 technicians.
So
maybe you can. But...
So that would suggest it's very much more focused on the online kind of chatting online over your microphones, as opposed to seeing cutscenes with the characters talking, because they're going to want you to communicate, because it's the whole concept of teamwork.
Yeah. See, what I would love is, like, if you're playing a technician, I would like to see, you're the only one that can like weld the doors together, so you can sort of, if there's a horde coming after you, you'd be able to
Yeah.
kind of weld the doors like they have in the films, to give you some respite, to give you some kind of time to get away. If you're like the Doctor, then obviously you're going to be dropping health packs or giving buffs to other players to, give them additional firepower or upgrade their kind of things. The Demolisher will be like more the kind of explosives expert, so like laying down turret guns and stuff like that. Things in that kind of respect.
That
But
would be my complete
yeah.
assumption as well.
I'm just hoping this isn't one of those type of ones where you get plonked down into a scenario, you're just running around and you're just kind of running and gunning. Because they are making out that this isn't a horror game. They're taking this as an action game. They're very kind of specific about that.
The trailer very much hints towards running and gunning, my friend.
Yeah, so I'm interested in this, and they do say there's over there's more than 20 enemy types, and that might not just be including aliens themselves. You can see in the trailer there's a short segment where you see the kind of the synthetic Weyland-Yutani droids as well, giving you sort of firepower back. So it might not just be like aliens themselves. I mean, we've seen like from Aliens Colonial Marines, you saw the kind of acid spitters, you had the kind of Praetorians, you had like different types of alien class. You've got the kind of runner dog type ones, you've got the original ones, you've got the warrior ones, you've got the kind of ones, you've got the queen obviously as well. I imagine that will be like a boss type at the end of the level. There'll be like a boss type alien creature or something that you have to take out. My question is about this is like the repetitive nature. Obviously this is being billed as a game that, there's 12 main campaign missions, but will you want to replay those campaigns once you finish them? And that once again goes back into the kind of the story arc. Like, will there be objectives based on each level? Will you have to kind of do a certain set of things before you can move on to another sequence? I don't know. I'm hoping there is, because as I said, like once again for Left 4 Dead, that was one of the main elements of it. You had to kind of you had to do certain things. They were pretty simplistic sort of objectives, like push a lever, run around, but that would set off a horde that would come after you. A more recent game, GTFO, was more horror based. That had the same kind of concept, but it was more very kind of slow paced. This doesn't seem to be that.
So you said this has kind of been in production for years, but it's kind of gone from company to company.
Yeah.
So do you know how long this has been in development under the current company who are working on it?
So founded in 2015, Cold Iron's a 40-person studio. Former Cryptic Studios developers Matt Hitchison and Craig Zinkiewicz, sorry if I've butchered that. They worked on MMORPGs, including Star Trek Online, Dungeons & Dragons, Neverwinter, and they've been building this mysterious game in the Alien universe since then.
Okay, so it's been in development for 5 years.
Yeah, but Cold Iron was bought and sold 4 times, starting in 2018.
Right.
And today it's independent and working on 20th Century Studios, the self-published Fireteam. So, yeah, you could argue that because of all the kind of different acquisition purposes and the stuff like that, has the direction gone in so many different ways?
Yeah, is it a new game? Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Is it
exactly.
like, when did they start? So I always worry about, like, I mean, just look at the biggest example probably in the history of gaming with Cyberpunk. When you make changes at a pretty late stage in development, and this is coming out in the summer.
In the summer, yeah. So although the trailer has the kind of alpha build to it, I can't really. I mean, you'd think
that's
that
a worry
this should
as well,
be the final
isn't it?
product. Yeah, but I think just doing that to protect themselves.
But the fact that they've highlighted alpha build, like, and what the summer is 3-4 months away.
Yeah.
So, that would worry me.
It is a worry. Like, this is one of those kind of things now, post cyberpunk world we're living in. Our game company's going to be doing this type of thing where even before, like a month before launch, they'll be having alpha gameplay footage just to cover their asses, essentially. Because at the same time,
at least as an example with Hunting Ground, they gave you a free weekend to try it.
There was the demo, yeah.
There was the demo, or the beta weekend, or whatever you call it, where we could all play it, and even though we knew it was a beta, you got a feeling, and then when the game released, you realised that it wasn't a beta, it was the full game. It was just kind of locked and limited, where you kind of thought, so if for example, they dropped I definitely do a beta weekend with this and give it a go and see what it was like. Even on the basis, unless it's a certain game that I'm really looking forward to, this isn't my type of game anyway, so it's something that I'd very much wait for the reviews to see what the reviews said about it. But yeah, it's definitely something, if they'd done a trial weekend, I'd like to play it.
Well, I'd like to play as well, just not as a fan of the whole franchise in itself, but if it's not just a boring run and shoot, like just get from point A to point B, and it would be fun to kind of play with a group of like-minded friends as well, because then you can kind of make your own. You can shout out all the kind of like colonial marine type isms down your microphone anyway. And even look now with Predator, they've been releasing DLC, like the kind of Arnold Schwarzenegger Dutch character and stuff like that. Will we get that down the line with this? Will we get like certain colonial marine characters from the films as skins?
Did you get the feeling that was supposed to be Ripley with the voiceover at the start? Just a poor,
maybe
like a poor impression of Ripley. But
the actual timeline of this game is set after Alien 3, so I think maybe they just picked someone who had a slight sort of resemblance to Sigourney Weaver. She did now. She brown beard. But yeah, so there you go. That's Aliens Fireteam. It's going to be released. It's going to be hitting PC, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S this summer. So yeah, if you're a fan of the Left 4 Dead franchise with Xenomorphs and you're a fan of the franchise, maybe check it out. I think it's going to be dependent on price for me, Brendan. What's your final thought on that?
Same. If it gets really good reviews and it's 20 quid, I'd probably buy it. If not, it's something I probably will never buy unless it's like free on PlayStation Plus or something like that.
Okay, guys. Well, if you have any kind of comments and you have more information, then let us know in the comments below. And Brendan and I will be back with more trailer drops when they come.
Inside your dreams.